Yeah, it just, I was like, oh my God. Yeah, it was a huge.
I thought you had me on that.
Oh, man. It was definitely shit. No joke about it. Wow.
Yep.
I had so much. It was everything.
Yeah.
It was another, it's quite a difference now. So there's actually some. Nobody's one popcorn.
That's right. There you go.
It is. Sure, but yeah. You gotta wear a thumbs hat.
You do?
For this one.
Yes, yep. So I had any questions.
For the transponder.
I was, it wasn't something.
You can get one, right? You can list the other places.
Yeah, but the problem was. Because I got my one, and all the years, and they called me, where are you at? Well, actually, I'm Bill Rick. I was swing over to sure that shit. Wow. Yeah, it's in the other truck.
At the university, you had 8 of them, and we had 60 vehicles.
Yeah.
So anyone that went through.
That's what I built. They were $10 bucks. That was.
Yeah, if you use transponder, if you get discounted.
I was looking at, I was like. $600 or $700 a chance to get started. And then, because they do the, on the commercial side, they do the prepaid stuff. Yeah, I was like, and I was going out and that's fast. And as long as I leave it at like 3:30. Yes. I'd be in Bill Rick way before they open, so I wouldn't have to wait all. The soccer ball. And Bill Rick was supposed to start. Because we can have one-on-one for. Yep. Surely, 195, so then. And then, what's the IAA down? Right shoulder like this. One of the IAA are still, oh, right. Down stop sign, bang over right, so it's sure out there, down the five. But, straight past that, 195 on that, you're within like 100 yards or something there, and I think it's.
Yeah, I can't think of the name of it all.
That guy, those guys, I mean, shit, I was in and out of there for 30 minutes. Yes, they were rank. So it's coming.
My teacher.
Huh? Still there. I don't know. Well, I mean, I didn't know this big. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna do now. You know.
I mean, they were good at that for work.
And after we.
No.
But they're now telling that's what we're gonna do.
But either way, let's get it done.
It's soon to them over what. It's like it. I know what I'm doing. And I don't mind when they die. Yeah, and you said they go to the down sheet. Brownfield. Almost in front of the head.
I just didn't understand a lot of it. I know we talked about it.
So, yeah.
But.
All
right.
question was,
We should be right.
yeah.
Open the meeting. Make a motion in the meeting, all right?
Second it.
All right, all in favor?
Yeah,
All right.
hand.
Yeah. Payroll, we did that. You're looking at this part,
Yeah, what, I thought the head was 20.
26.
Oh, no, you said we could get it for what, 23 or something like that, 2,300? The cylinder head,
I think it was 26 from somewhere else.
and they charged 4 or something.
It didn't come from, didn't come from these people,
No, the head was way back.
somebody else.
So when they damaged it, they warranted it.
Yes,
All right.
yeah,
So that's what we was talking about. For
Yeah. yep.
Yeah, 4252.
Yeah. While you're doing that, I'll just bring up some town stuff, notes, there was a sledding party a couple weeks ago, went really well. Had about 170 people there, between the rec department and the snowmobile club. Put this thing together, rec department did the food, snowmobile club gave the right people rides up top the hill so they could slide down. Really went excellent, had a lot of people there, had a lot of fun. Last weekend was the first sled dog race in Brownfield. The people all asked if they'd do another one next year. It went so well, they were happy going through the woods. What they normally do is they have people have fields and they do their thing in the field. So they're really happy that something like this could be put on in Brownfield. So that's really nice. And the snowmobile club has got a lease with the Burnt Meadow Mountain ski area for the use of the facility, the whole property and all, for a clubhouse and recreation facility, to put snowmobile trails, fat bike trails, cross country trails, more outdoor recreation stuff to go on in the town, which should make a big help for people that want to get out and do something. It was very wonderful that the owners would actually think of the town like that and ask the snowmobile club to do something, take it over like that. This weekend is another sledding party. Same thing gonna happen. There's food, there's sledding, snowmobile's gonna haul them up. Just something good to bring some people together in the town of Brownfield. I think it's a good thing.
You're saying there's a sledding party for those who are not aware of it. Where is it?
It's on Farnsworth Road. On the corner of Notch Road and Farnsworth Road. I don't know if it has an address. Does it have an address yet? No? Okay. So let's start with Mike. We'll start with you this week.
Well, the month of February, we had 0 building permits. And we had 0 septic permits.
Oh,
And we had 2 plumbing permits. So there wasn't a lot for February. I think as the weather changes, we'll probably have a little more work coming in. But short of that, the only other thing that I might want to mention is I talked to John down at the market, and they're gonna be ready to open in about 2 weeks. So he was kind of excited. He's looking to get his occupancy permit. He said he wasn't quite ready yet, but he would. He thinks around 2 weeks he'd be ready to open. So I think second add on in as short of that, the only thing that you guys have in front of you is some stuff that I found today, and that was down on
That's that
Plantation Road.
Where is it?
Left hand,
There's the building down there that's unsafe. So then the gentleman put it on the market.
Where is it?
So we had some inquiries today. People looking to build, buy it and then fix it up, whatever. But I think it's beyond fixing. So it was my recommendation that it be, classified as a dangerous building and either removed or torn down. I think it's beyond fixing. There's wild animals living in it now. I mean, it's pretty bad. The pictures really don't do the justice as it did for the hike in there, because I almost didn't make it out. I was telling Dickie, I didn't realize so bad out of shape I was until I get down in there. But it's pretty bad. I mean, there's electrical cords running for power. It's just if you could imagine the worst case scenario, that's it.
From tree to tree and building.
But and no cell phone service, so I wasn't calling for help. I was going to be part of the fix shit.
Rounds of shape, Mike.
Yeah. Lose my weight, shake some weight off. That's it. That's all I've got.
All right, Willie.
Well, the rec department, we rounded up the basketball last week with the youngest kids. We've had spring sport signups out now for a couple weeks, and they will go through the 17th of March. So hopefully we have a good turnout like the last couple of years with baseball, softball. Babe Ruth, and major softball as well this year. We had just a minors team left, so we'll have a majors team this year as well. As you mentioned, it's an upcoming sledding party this weekend. And again, we want to give a lot of thanks to the Stoneville Club. We couldn't have done it without them grooming the trails and hauling the kids. It went really well. We are planning an Easter egg hunt as usual. April 9th is Easter. We'll have a Easter egg hunt. We're gonna do baskets. We gave away bikes last year. It's a big hit, so give away a couple bikes again this year. And we'll of course have the eggs outside. Possibly doing, we talked about maybe doing a bake sale like they used to do. And that would be depending on members of the community, if we could get enough people to sign up and cook pies and whatever else. At the end of April, 1st of May, we're gonna do a community dinner, which will be actually a fundraiser at the community center. It's in the Masonic Lodge is also gonna help us with that. Fitness room in the community center. I've had a survey up for a couple months in the fitness room. Fitness room is. We've got about 65 members right now. Not all of them are active. But the room is chock-a-block full with equipment. There's a couple machines in there that we want to. 2 machines in particular that don't work. They need to just be go to the dump pretty much. The gears and the treadmill is gone, and the other one is broken all up. The cables they've been worn out. So I'm gonna talk to the guys at Public Works to see if they can help me eliminate a couple of the machines in there, give us a little more space. I'd like to take advantage of some of the money we've been building up and get a few mirrors in there. This is just stuff from the survey. A few more mirrors for the people that are working out. A new bench. The bench we have is just a single small bench. They have benches that for lifting, an incline and decline. And so looking to spend a little bit of money out of that fund and get a few new things in the fitness room. We took the book over for Brownfield Days. We took that to the meeting last week. We're gonna have special meetings for Brownfield Days, separate from the Friends of Rec. We'll have one this month on the 22nd. And we'll get ready to order our bounce houses, contact our vendors, and see who's going to be there and what kind of event we're gonna put on, which will be, as usual, the second weekend of August. So like I said, March 22nd, we have our first Brownfield Days meeting, and then Friends of Rec will meet again at the end of March to prepare for Easter and the fundraiser dinner. So that's about it for that. Sledding party. We still do need maybe a few volunteers just to help out around the grill. And so if anyone would like to come down and just hang out, it's not just for kids, it's for everybody in the community. All right.
Good. Fire chief. Your turn.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Running accidents and but you then knocked on the structure fires and while the whole night crew was over there, and you have one ourselves on West Brownfield. That was interesting. Thank God it was just a pipe fell out of a stove. They had Peaceful, Center Common Driver, you started that for it. Was I wasn't able to go. I just said, they listen, we're like, the bit's going, you know what I gotta do?
Yep.
Have got my direct spending grant ready to go. Talked to Carly today, Susan Collins' office. She's gonna review it, waiting for the all 3 letters and 1 from the sheriff and 2 from the other senators. They're all on board. But she told me today to don't worry about if I get yours 3 to send them, and if I get the others to send them. You're gonna review the application, make any changes or talk to me if I made any errors or anything like that, but she's looking at probably a USDA type deal.
Mhm.
Because the other one is really highly competitive. And so she said if you go to USDA, that's 75% match, which is probably gonna be easier for us than the other one. Because it's called the BUD. And she said, if everybody goes for that, that's a very highly competitive grant. And so she's gonna look at each one.
So you're not gonna be competing for the same money this time?
Yes, it's all the same money, so
Oh.
they all go into a pile,
Oh,
and then it gets divvied up, so there's only 15 projects it gets funded, that's it. But it gets broken down to all the, like transportation, agricultural, this, that, and the other thing, and it all gets broken down into that. There's only a certain amount of money, and there's only 15 projects that gets funded.
Mhm.
That's how they do it,
And that's the USDA.
that's all of it, that's all of them, and it's this long, so very highly competitive. We're set to go, I got 2 federal grants ready to go, I hope I'll get the other one to go too on Thursday.
okay.
Been a busy 2 weeks writing.
Yeah.
Gathering information, it's been. I think looking at the screen like, oh, I'm getting tired. Yes. So, hopefully,
So that community center money would interfere with that?
yes. They could,
We.
but she wants the selectmen to fund one project.
The community center is important. I understand that. And we didn't have all the information when decided to form that community center project committee, building committee. And I don't think they realized that the grant money that was going from Golden's office was actually the Susan Collins money.
What's everybody's Angus King, it's any of them they send it, all is the yes.
And another thing that I didn't realize is that you've had both buildings in the plan for 2 or 3 years. And not knowing that, on my part, I acted prematurely without the facts. And I think we should just focus on one project at a time. The community building, you get grants for that, and we've been updating it as we could. And then the fire station emergency center taking priority. I think we should focus on that. And then once that's done, if we need to put more into the community center, we can do it then. You guys agree with that?
I really think we should go for a different round for the community center. On its own merit.
Yeah.
Not try to compete with ourselves on the firehouse.
Where there's only 15 people competing, if we start sending confusion, they'll give it to a community that's got all the ducks in a row. Is what I'm thinking. So I think we should focus on the fire station emergency center. If we could back off from the community center.
Might be duplicated here. If you be looking at what they want to turn, I've got this in plans for. The emergency shelter, they do the same man, now you're competing, they're gonna look at that one, you don't need 2 in down Brownfield.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But your emergency services, you keep it all under one roof, if you have the sheriff's department there, you have us, heating, warming, overnight shelters, that you'll have the staff and also get the funding. For me opening it up, because I have to be the one to open. That's how we get funded.
Did you call Wainwright? And
Yes,
copy?
I sent him bullet points and he's already emailed me back, yes, he said, I'll get you one this week.
Okay,
So
good.
I got hold of him.
Yeah.
Rick Bennett and Kate Ness.
Yeah.
So we're good to go.
Matt?
Has it been confirmed? Submit both of these that they will be competing, or is this an interpretation?
No, it is competing.
Yeah, they are
There's only
competing.
15, there'll be a whole bunch of people come in, there's only 15 being funded.
So, Dick, you were at the private fair thing when they applied for Susan Collins money and they got denied.
Right,
But because they made it known that there was a need for their water system, there are other entities, because they applied to the Susan Collins thing, another organization, I think it's Northern Borders.
yes, that's right, I think he's got that information too, and we could do that for the community center. If we don't go for the firehouse.
I just don't want to draw all of this momentum I don't wanna compete with the fire department. I mean,
Right.
First of all, I feel the fire department's more important, but. I don't wanna say, well, all this time and energy, that needs to go someplace to let people know there's a need for this.
Yeah.
Other just, I don't wanna compete with the fire department, I feel that takes precedence, but. It's gotta go someplace, the need has to be known.
There's other monies out there that can be applied for, so that's. And I think that's what we should do, they should be on their own merit, instead of competing to each other.
And Dickie's been working that building for 2-3 years with fundings and things also.
There is grants out there that I can do, after the fire station gets going, but then I can come back and I can work on that again, but not all at once. Don't try to get to the building, what we were doing with the building, Bob and I was looking at it, we were doing it slowly. So we first had the generator project going and the handicap, so we was gonna do that first, slowly. And then we're done this 3 times, we've lost 3 generators over in that building. Cause I'll write it, but when someone steps in, I'll back away. That's how I operate, I
It's going slowly is wrong, I mean, it's been forever, that building needed work, kicking the can down too, I'm getting more aggravated about that,
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Same thing with the fire department building.
Yeah.
Going this slowly, some of us aren't gonna see the completion of some of this, cause it's gonna take 20 friggin' years.
Yeah.
The slowly thing, I don't agree with, maybe we gotta hire somebody to expedite this. What I've heard in the past, the town used to hire people to go get grants, and he took a portion of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
The slowly thing, I think it's just gonna start
I
aggravating.
can't remember the guy's name. And we could look at that too, I mean, that's definite, Joe,
We don't want to interfere with what Dickie's doing. I mean, with the community center, but when we spoke with Carlene said on the application, it said, is your town applying for another grant? Besides whether it's fire after the community center. And so you have to answer affirmative. If we submit those. But then you have to prioritize them. So somebody in town has to decide, and it seems kind of obvious, at least from what I've heard so far, which one's going to be prioritized. But Carlene said, submit them both. Submit them both, and if you don't submit the second one, she said, we'll never know that you're looking for that one. And if something goes wrong with the first one, which it sounds like it won't, because she told us the same thing, we'll help you fill out your application so there's nothing wrong with it. So to clear this up, what I'd like to do is, if Vicky's willing to do it, is to call Carlene together and ask her point blank, will this be competition? And if it is, then we can go, then we know how we have to proceed.
I've already answered no, that was not the one going.
Pardon?
I've already answered. For this time,
On your application, did you submit your application?
one day tomorrow.
Well, you can change that, I can always get that phone call. And
So
I'll
I'm
be glad,
something that was gonna stop, we were gonna just go with one. They didn't want us.
I think we should stay with just one.
It's all I would say, it's gonna be a town building. You guys make the decision,
But this is gonna take place in the
but I
next,
can back it out. This is all right, whatever.
but we get the grant, this is gonna be all done in like 3-4 years.
You gotta have the project started within 2 years, you gotta spend that money in 3 years. But if there's a, like mine will be a 75% match.
Right.
If she goes this way, she's looking into it now, ask a question.
So this isn't something that's gonna go 20 years. Once that's done, then we can go for the community center. We'll be doing the community center as we have been. But a major, once that part is done and all situated, then we can go with more grants and focus on the community center.
There's no need to, they can look at pricing, get all their figures together, and then start looking at it and prioritize what we gotta do.
Well, they gotta put a plan together.
Yes.
If they work with you, you've already got a plan, and then
Terry,
So a few things I just want to mention after having talked with both Jared Golden and Susan Collins' office and seen the application and all that. There's nothing that says you can only put in one application. What it does say is the town putting in more than one application? And if so, which one is the priority? And it sounds like people want the priority to be the firehouse and what we're hearing. And then you can say this other project is secondary. The ones who are limited to 15 grants is Jared Golden's office. Susan Collins is the lead of the appropriations committee. You can look at what she's covered over the last 2 years. She covers probably 50 or more projects a year. So she is not limited to what she can address, but they have confirmed that they will not give 2 projects to Brownfield. And that's understandable.
Right.
I think the, as Matt said, we have a momentum with this right now. Why not get everything together? It's almost all finished now. Submit them both. And what it also asks on the application is, have you submitted this in a previous year? So it could all be in there for the community center. And then if they go with the firehouse, which would be fabulous if we got funding for that, that would be great. Next year, we could apply and say, we submitted this last year, so this is the second go round. I mean, why waste, the time and effort that went into it?
I myself only wanted
Vicky?
back one.
Can I call Carly tomorrow?
Right?
So I can get the straight answer. I think that's the easiest way to do it. I just don't want them to compete against each other. I think that's my feeling. If they're gonna compete, the firehouse is 1947 or 8.
1949.
9, isn't that, it was 2 years after, huh? So I mean, it's a tired old building, things don't fit well, it costs us a fortune to eat. So I think that's what I would like to do myself, is call and get the straight answer. And then, that way we're not listening to anybody else, we'll have the answer, and we'll make a decision.
Yep.
If everybody's agreeable with that.
I agree with that.
All right,
Well, if you call me right away, because I know you're gonna do that, I'll have to make a change. Like I
Yep.
said, no, I've got everything set to rock and roll.
right,
So if you do it in the morning, let me know so I can change that.
it won't be till 9-ish.
That's fine, because you probably not in the office still.
Oh, good. Willie,
Just a question on that. Previously, when we discussed the emergency shelter, it was not gonna be at the firehouse with the safety concerns and stuff.
Well, that changed because they looked at my firehouse, the way I got it designed, and it will work. Because all the other fire departments are doing it. They're making now that our trucks are way over here and the offices are over here, and the emergency shelter's on the left.
is it Norway's that just did this? Is it Norway or South
They
Africa?
always
that
do
did
this in the fire station, they always have.
Yeah.
They've been separated, but I take my fire station, I can't, right in the building.
Right.
The design we have, I took it out and had people look at it, and they go, why don't you use this as an emergency shelter? We got we've got plenty of room, it's out of the way, so they go in, they check in, and they're over here out of the way. So it doesn't interfere, and all my emergency personnel are there, they said, you have all your crew.
Yeah.
It says you're ridiculous not to use it.
And honestly, if there was a major disaster where we could overfill that, nobody is gonna complain if you put people in this building too.
But all the years that I've opened that shelter and used it, I get one person, sometimes I get none. I've opened this up for a warming shelter.
Yeah.
And you get 0, so it's like, it depends on what it, people are resilient in this town.
Oh, yeah.
I'm out there when it's nasty, and I'm out there and people just don't go.
Yeah.
It's like,
Matt,
I've got some questions and maybe it's not some of the answers to bring other people up to speed. We started working on a new firehouse last fall.
yes,
And we have a committee, correct?
yes.
Is that committee still active?
Hasn't been for a while, because it just fizzled out because it was.
Well, I don't remember being told it fizzled out. What I remember,
It didn't go any further.
what I remember was you and Bob were gonna get some design and some prints for some. And I specifically asked this when we were throwing a figure of $3 million. And we all laughed, like, yeah, right. You were gonna go to look at towns our size, what we have for fire buildings, because I saw the Taj Mahal yet. I didn't agree with it. I know we need new fire buildings, but. So when I hear about this grant and all this stuff planned, I'm like, well, what happened to the committee? Because I never got told I got to stand. I was waiting for information from the fire department of what you were designing. And now I hear that it's run and gone all this course, and the committee doesn't know about it. I don't know about it. Dick's on the committee too.
Well, Dick knew it, he was there when we had the great balls up here, we had him right over there, Dick was there.
But the committee, I'm not the only one that was on the committee. The committee has not been told anything
There was
since
other
this
people
fall.
there.
I guess we need another committee meeting to go over some stuff to make sure everybody's up to speed.
But it was going over here,
Right, at that time it was all going here.
that's changed.
I understand that, and then we voted on that, but there has not been, if we have a committee, we all make this decision as a committee.
Yeah.
And I'm a little upset that this has been handled by just a couple people, not the committee. That's not how a town runs. If you want this to fly, you involve your committee, or I will fight this.
Go ahead, it's not,
Okay.
you're not hurting me, Pat, you're hurting the town.
No, what I'm saying is, if you want something to fly, you involve the town. And to here, we have a committee, and we're at a final plan stage, and there's been no input from the committee, just the fire people. That upsets me a little bit. That is not how community works.
I think we need to get a meeting together so we get things all straightened out. We can do that sometime next week, not next week. Week after, all right. You tell me a day and I know man will make time to get there. I'll make, yeah.
Maybe we can notify all the committee members that we're looking
Yep.
at what we're doing for a firehouse.
Yep.
Isn't there a deadline for training, paperwork?
That's pretty nice.
It would be.
So, you just said you can't have a meeting for a couple of weeks, and then you're gonna make a decision.
I didn't have a problem. You're different.
Let's we'll deal with it at the meeting.
This is just to get the application in, don't mean you're gonna get it, don't mean you have to accept it, it's just to get something rolling.
Carry on the mountain division. All right, Patty's gonna do it. Well, we have both be on the same thing, so.
Name's Patty Barber and on King Street in Ireland. I've lived there for like 20 years. And I'd like to speak about Mountain Vision Railroad and the plan to tear up the tracks and replace it with walking trail. As you know, this railroad has a history of importance to Maine and to help build our local towns. And recent activity to return train service included 2008, state of Maine completed purchase of the entire line and started rail restoration, including new welded steel tracks. In 2011, Kathy Woods planned an $80 million pellet manufacturing plant in Baldwin, specifically to use the tracks to ship product to the Portland waterfront, and this was slated for completion in 2013. In 2014, Maine State Rail Plan listed the Mountain Division as a priority corridor linking multiple state rail strategies. In the plan, the estimated completion date for restoration of the Mountain Division was 2018. In 2021, under pressure from national and state bike and trail advocates, the terminology of the Maine Rail Preservation Act was changed to include non-rail uses, and the Rail Use Advisory Councils or RUACs were formed. In 2021, the first RUAC, the Mountain Division, was formed. Brownfield's Rep. Terry Egan was the comprehensive planning committee and was on it. The council voted to tear up the tracks and all the infrastructure and build a paved trail instead, which also prohibits ATV use. I followed this Mountain Division RUAC as well as the next two, Portland to Auburn and Brunswick to Bangor, Waterville, and Augusta, and I came to realize that RUACs were intentionally slanted to benefit the trails. They felt like the mandate of the council was purposely vague, that the members felt consensus was necessary. Of the 12 appointed members, only one voice was given to a rail interest. The data presented was not peer reviewed and was skewed towards trails. I have example where purposely keeping out of the final report a chart that supported rail and trail use or keeping the tracks. I feel the decision to tear up the tracks should be revisited, especially in light of the billions of dollars recently available specifically for restoration of freight and passenger trains. The statute that governs the removal of the state tracks says it cannot be done if removal would have a negative impact on a region or on future economic opportunities for that region. The process of pulling up the tracks is moving forward in the legislature and may be decided in the next few months. I'm here tonight because I don't feel the municipalities along the line have enough information to move forward with pulling up the tracks. For example, it would be the municipalities that would be responsible for all maintenance of the trail, for all policing and emergency services, and any liability involved with injury or damages. It is not too late for each town to choose to keep their tracks if that's what the taxpayers want. Precedent is already set for a municipality to not accept a RUAC's decision. Auburn has released a resolve supporting placing the trail beside the tracks, opposing their RUAC's decision to pull them up. Portland and Lewiston are soon to be voting on similar resolutions. My ask of you here tonight is the same I have asked Hiram to consider, and I'm heading to Baldwin to also present this, is that a town hall type informational meeting take place where all citizens can ask questions, get further information, and voice opinions and concerns. And then the town as a whole can vote whether to tear up the tracks or keep the infrastructure in place and build the trail alongside the tracks. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I would welcome a chance to sit down with everyone to answer questions or point you toward further resources. Thank you. I just have a couple of papers that I copied. You guys want to, that's.
There.
There's 2 copies of mine. Thank you. Right.
4 or 5 each one.
Just-
So there's 2.
2 copies.
You know, the house.
I'll make a copy. Give me a copy of this and I'll just.
The narrative goes through Spago, Denmark, Britain, so that way.
Copies. Yeah. I think we need a copy.
I'll do it after the meeting.
Oh, I can even pick it up tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Terry?
So, 2 years ago, the select board at the time signed this letter of support, that's right. Signed the letter of support for the Mountain Division Trail. And at that point, the Rail Use Advisory Council was established. The Rail Use Advisory Council had representation from every town along the route, in addition to different organizations, some rail advocates, some trail advocates. There was a feasibility study done. We had presentations from all sorts of organizations who were either for rail, for trail, or for rail with trail. And I have full copies of that feasibility study. I'm not sure if we put it on our website, but that's available for anyone who would like to look at it. The feasibility study showed they examined what it would cost to maintain the rail, to do rail alongside trail, or to do trail until rail. The Maine Railroad Preservation Act says that you can't just eliminate the rail route. You have to be able to restore rail if eventually it came to a point where people wanted rail to be returned. The rail as it is now has to be replaced. There have been studies done by the engineers. It cannot be used the way it looks right now. The rails and the ties would have to be torn up and replaced. That feasibility study compared what it would cost to build the trail alongside the existing rail. And that would cost over $150 million to do trail until rail. So the trail on top of the rail would cost $20 million. So the Rail Use Advisory Committee voted almost unanimously. One person voted against it, but voted almost unanimously to do the trail until rail. There are many places along this 31-mile route where it's impossible to put the trail alongside the rail because of how close the rail is to the road, and also because of all the environmentally sensitive areas that it would be going through. There are something like 31 or 32 water crossings. That would mean additional bridges would have to be built and disturb the ground even more than it is disturbed now. So the Rail Use Advisory Council's recommendation was submitted after about 18 months of meetings. And Senator Rick Bennett has now introduced a bill to the legislature to accept the recommendation of the Rural Use Advisory Committee. Rick is asking that each town resubmits their support for the trail. And basically, this letter that was submitted in 21, it could be the exact same letter, just with the different select board members signing it and the different dates, but it's basically the same language saying that the town supports it. So far, many towns along the route have already submitted theirs, but Rick has asked the Mountain Division Alliance, a member of that group, to collect these letters from the town so that Rick can submit them all to the DOT at one time, saying it's supported by all the towns along the route. So I'll give this to Albina, so you can each have your copy.
I do understand no matter which way it goes, the town is responsible for the maintenance, no matter which way it goes.
It is, except if it's catastrophic, like if there's a hurricane that goes through, the DOT is responsible for that, but general maintenance, you're like,
And there are no ATVs involved.
right,
I'm
snowmobiles
sure
are,
of that.
but
First,
ATVs.
Yeah, because you can't have people walking and ATVs run down the same trail. It just doesn't work.
Yeah,
Uh,
part of the trail right now has equestrian access. That's causing a bit of a problem as well.
Well, not big in this area. So I don't know how that, I mean, myself. I don't know that they don't really bother too many people, I wouldn't think.
I think it's limited how many people would actually ride horses on it, but
Yeah.
yeah, but
I think we'd
anyway,
have to
it's
see,
mainly for
Yeah, and
it's
I've
a place where
I've
people
thought of
ride
it both
horses.
ways. The problem with you, one of the problems you're gonna have is if they take up the rails and put a trail there.
Mhm.
And we go to war, they're gonna start putting rails back down and you lose the trail, then they're gonna do it all over again.
Well,
So you're gonna be doing, so the amount of money is not, they're not saving a penny. They're actually spending
Well,
more, twice as much.
the possibility of rail service being restored is really pretty thin possibility, because the rail used to serve many factories and businesses that no longer exist.
Dearborn
Some
is one
people-
of the ones that has the contract for the big guns. They still have the big gun lathes to build them, where a lot of places don't have those anymore. So that rail would probably happen, because you're not gonna truck them out of here.
We're talking about a slim possibility.
Well, I don't know, we're trying to, I would not say slim right now.
I mean, I think that there's much more use for the people of Brownfield and for Maine to have
I'm for a
good
trail.
bikeways and good pedestrian walkways. The problem is now, we don't have a safe place to ride bikes in town. You can't ride it on roads. People can't help their kids learn to ride a bike because it's too dangerous to be doing that on the roads in Brownfield. We're too narrow. We don't have spots where you can do that safely. So there are also many studies that show the economic benefits that come to towns that have trails established, bikeways established.
It's like the Sunrise Trail in the down east.
Yeah, it's really
Over at the cows, it's
Yeah.
funded
It's
by
really
several towns and.
significant, the economic
Huge.
benefits, yeah.
Huge number.
Besides the the jobs that start to come up around a trail once it's established.
I do know that they've been talking a lot about, bringing back rails, or just like commutes. So like sending people.
Commuter train is exceptionally difficult. Because of the way the track has to be built. Freight, you can do 5 mile an hour, 10 mile an hour, and they can keep the rails down. Commuter has to go to the top. You can do commuter with freight. And that kind of like a sneak around, to keep it, so you can go with the low track.
So there's actually a huge push in Maine right now to do a whole active transportation network for the entire state. By active transportation, you mean people aren't getting somewhere by motorized conveyance. It's people getting there by riding bikes or walking. So there's actually an active transportation
I bet.
plan online, and you can see where it's mapped out the whole
Yeah,
state of
close
Maine.
to
It's
the
pretty
railroad.
remarkable, because they're trying to
The
connect
rails is right.
trails that are in different parts of the state, so that people could really, travel. flying.
When the other lady was talking, I think I heard her correctly. That one of the things with having this rail, without having the rail, just having the trail, or the trail to rail. Is that at that point, the town assumes the costs of emergencies that happen along that. People who get sunstroke and have to be picked up. They're picked up on fire rescue, even though they may insurance charge their insurance if they don't pay, or their insurance doesn't pay, the town is the fallback for it. And that may seem minor. That's how it works. I only know because I lived in the town of Albany in New Hampshire. Now, 95% of the town of Albany is state forest, and it has a lovely little road called the Tankamogus. And the town of Albany actually has an item in its budget to cover accidents, incidents, and police work right up to the loon line, because they're responsible for it. And it's a big chunk of the town budget. Because when people get out doing what they like they do on the river, they don't always think before they walk, cross their feet.
Sure. So I mean,
Even no matter which way it goes, the town, not as much the town, the emergency services have to service it. It doesn't, they're not responsible for it, but they have to service it.
so I mean, we have existing parts of the trail.
Tony, could you wait while we ask other people?
Sure.
Okay, Joe?
It might be interesting to find out from Freiburg how much they spend annually on maintaining the trail. Since the trail runs through Freiburg right now.
There isn't a lot. The snowmobile club had to pay for the fence one year when they hooked into it with a drag. They put probably a dozen pieces of split rail fence up because they get broken. Whether summer or winter, it didn't make a difference, but that's about all they've had to do so far. For the Dole race, they do go in and they cut the brush and so they just run down with weed whacker down each side. And take care of that, but there isn't a lot of maintenance tied up in it right now. The maintenance is gonna be 25 years, 30 years down the road, when the asphalt starts coming apart. And that's where your maintenance is gonna be. When you can see it. Especially then you speak for yourself.
Well, beyond that,
Yeah, but yeah. That's-
town responsible, put like relief stations or porta potties along the way.
No.
And maintenance and cleanup of the trail.
Just normal weed whacking and, whatever that would be the obstacles.
Uh-huh.
If trees grow up, they gotta cut them, but
So no facilities or anything.
no,
But what happens if people have to go to the bathroom? I mean, what are they gonna?
you're in the woods. This thing,
Yeah.
but there is none on any of the things you go, it's just, you better prepare before you go.
So if you like doggy bags, they get.
There you go.
And I just wanted to point, the tracks don't have to be pulled up for keeping free. So they're good as they are, and they can even run commuter rail, some light rail on the tracks as they are.
That's
So
not true.
20 miles, it is 20
It's
miles
not
an
true.
hour.
I'll show you the feasibility study. It's not true.
So that most of the infrastructure can remain, that the only difference is that the amount of ties that are in between, the length between each tie is how you increase your speed and your weight. So the tracks are good, and then you just have to add more ties.
That's only 120-pound track. So yeah, so that's, and the ties, well, 20 years ago, there was only 1 in 5 ties that was any good. I can imagine now that there's 1 in probably 20 that are any good.
Tracks with me. And the estimates that they gave, were the 140 million. is to replace Amtrak type service and put the trail. They neglected to put, and I gave you guys a study. There is an estimate for rail with trail without storing the trains right now, but leaving the tracks, and it's like 80 million. Instead of the 20 million to tear and clean up. And like you said, at some point, someone's gonna come in, you're gonna have to buy everything out. Now, prices to replace the track, so.
Most of it down through is a 90-foot right away. So it is kind of interesting the way they've done that, yeah.
And it. Done. Doesn't mean you have to pull up all of them, you take each section, Rattlesnake Pond or whatever. And you work out a way to either go around it or go beside it, or take those places that are difficult and you just help keep the tracks and do the trails so that everything will be there.
Well, I should say that was actually what the Rail Use Advisory Committee was most interested in doing. Until we saw what it would take to make that happen, it just was not.
But nobody really
Economically
did a
feasible.
study on it.
Yes,
just
they
said-
did, and the
But the
next,
Amtrak,
the next step will actually be
Yeah.
an engineering study to see exactly what has to be done.
Yes. That's another area. that-
Okay, good.
Anything else?
That's it.
Yeah, excellent.
Anything you got?
Yeah. Awful lot.
Just before we go into,
Motion, I move that we schedule and post public notice of a meeting of the Board of Selectmen on March 14th at 9 AM. At the offices of Kelly, Ramel, and Zimmerman, 53 Exchange Street, Portland, Maine, for the purpose of meeting with the town attorney to participate in the alternative dispute resolution conference required by Rule 16B MRCIV PROC with respect to the matter of Merrill versus Town of Brownfield, Oxford County Superior Court docket number AP 2204.
you in favor? So there'll be no meeting next Tuesday night.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
The,
Beat that. Yeah. No.
the participate part.
Yeah. Okay. Sonia, now, the rules of the engagement with this are, the heads are gonna speak. The head of the planning board and the head of comprehensive plan, the rest of you be quiet.
I just had a comment about that. I don't have any problem speaking, I'm the only one speaking. However, I did ask Cindy Wilkes to come because she was here during that tenure. So if you can allow her to speak on some of the matters that I may not know about.
We took that into consideration. When the question was asked through her. Yeah. So what do you want to know? You guys wanted this, you guys asked for this, we didn't. We knew nothing about, I knew nothing about this tonight. Until I got here this afternoon.
Stop, we're not gonna play games.
We asked for it for 3:30 a couple weeks ago, you said yes. At the last minute, you said, oh, excuse me. Facebook said on Friday, it was gonna be at 5:30, you said it was changed and it was not changed. And we didn't hear anything till that day at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So,
Don't have
well, no, but I'm just laying it up and.
reading it. I was told by the facilitator that it was only gonna run from 8 to 2. I thought I was gonna be able to meet the 3:30 deadline. My staff likes to talk. So, which was great because they learned, and my meeting lasted until 4. I was not able to meet. That has nothing to do with Facebook or what people said. I try to keep off of that whole little thing. I have nothing to do with anything that was out there. I haven't spoken to anybody that has written anything about anything. I came to Alvina and said, can we change it? I have dementia training meetings. It had nothing to do with anybody else but my own things. I apologize that I could not make it for that 3:30 meeting. It wasn't done to play a game or to have it be anything else than I'm not even certain. The 3:30 meeting was something that we had called on because we didn't want you guys to have to spend money, or the town rather, to have to spend money on an attorney if it could be something that could be straightened out with everybody that's involved. So I'm not playing games, so I don't really appreciate this is the French thing, I apologize. I don't appreciate the accusation that it was done with any sort of game thing. I have a very busy schedule. A million times because of work and whatever else. It was not done to be playing games. I just couldn't freaking make it. I couldn't make it. It was pretty simple. I wanted to, I just couldn't. Work came first. I don't get paid for this.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I like being part of it. I like trying to help and all that good stuff. So let's set that aside and let's start on Thursday without any accusations.
There you go.
To address,
Hope you're a French woman, not a Frenchman.
Je parle français un petit peu, mais so I want to know what your questions are that you wanted to go to the attorney with, so that can help straighten some of that out.
the questions for the attorney is the inconsistencies that were brought to the board. How does it affect the governing of Brownfield from when it happened to now? Does it affect the new comprehensive plan? Do we have a problem and how do we fix it? Or do we need to fix it? And whatever's discussed now, it can't change anything. You can go from here forward, doing the best you can with following the rules and things. But it's what has happened. How does it affect the town? How does it affect the governing? Does it affect the new comprehensive plan? What does a new comprehensive plan mean to the town if passed? And that's it. Hopefully, we don't have a problem.
Okay, I have nothing to do with like the comprehensive plan part of things.
But that's part of the rules. The rules are anything that goes through the comprehensive plan has to go through the planning board according to the bylaws.
That's the bylaws of the planning board.
Yes. Okay, now see, this is why I want an outside independent review. And if the comprehensive plan is everything they say it is, why wouldn't you want an outside attorney to back that up and you get that many more votes? That's what I don't understand. Why the objection? It may be $1,000 to find out if we got a problem or not. And that's money well spent that if we do have a problem, we'll save a lot of thousands to fix it now. Questions?
Okay, shoot at the other, what are the other questions?
I just told them. Where the issues happened with the bylaws in the what was brought to the board in 2015, et cetera, et cetera. How does that affect the governing of Brownfield? Do we have a problem, and does it affect the new comprehensive plan? And what does the comprehensive plan mean if passed in the town of Brownfield? And it won't take them long to review it.
Okay, I guess part of what you're talking about is the quorum part being four, and then they change it to 3, which is against the bylaws of the thing.
Yes.
So how does that affect any decisions they made that went forward? I
Yes.
guess that is what you're trying to say. So if Cindy was the
It's not.
head at the time, so let's
Yes.
Cindy start. Yeah.
They're absolutely correct. When we updated, made several changes in 2018 into the bylaws for the running of the meeting, and one of the things we wanted to do is to make sure that the quorum was an odd number. A quorum should always be an odd number because that gives you a determinative vote. It was set at 4, we said, well, we'll put it at 3, and didn't stop. That was our fault. We held 1, 2, 3 voting meetings on that, and it was brought to our attention. So I contacted the town attorney and just said, because I figured the best thing to do was to void any votes that were made in those meetings and bring them up with the quorum going back to 4. And as long as we annotated into the minutes, and you will see, I don't have them here, or I do, this is more about the comprehensive plan issue that they asked me about. But we went back and we voided one entire meeting because it was basically a meeting where we voted to change it to 3. We voided votes, we voided the meeting. If you go to the minutes for that meeting, you will see on the note, this has been voided, and a reference to the meeting that we did in January for it. Then we had a December meeting where we had votes. There were 4 people there, but because they were done under the quorum of 3, we voided all of those votes and held them again in the January meeting. It's a long, complicated series of, proposed, voted, passed, agreed, and going down for each question. And there's a motion to void, there's a motion to revote, there's a motion to have the vote on it. It's step by step by step. So everything that was done under the quorum of 3 had been corrected, and going forth, we voted to go back at that time, I believe, to the 2015 or to Huget's minute rules, and we operated under that. Now, looking back at it later, in 2015, they voted to change the quorum to 3 again because they had nobody showing up to meetings and couldn't get anything done. There were about 3 meetings that were held with the quorum of 3. And I don't believe there was anything voted on in the meetings at that time. And then from there on, when they were voting, there were at least 4 people there, and there were at least 4 votes. So nothing was disturbed. The other thing at the end, after I had left, they voted eventually to go back to the 2007. But when they did that, they forgot that you have to keep history. If you look at some of the state laws, you'll see that they have been repealed. They have been repealed, but they're all still in the record. So at the bottom of the new minutes, and I'm sure Pam has corrected that, there had to be the Huget's, which were, I'm not sure whether they're 2012 or what, they were 2015 or 2000 under me. And then the vote under, I'm not sure whether it was Newbie or Sonia, who was the chair at the time, going back to the 2007 minutes rules. But everything has been done to clear up what was done wrong and proceed with a legal vote. And we followed the rules of what the attorney told me to do. And she's looked at it later and said, yep, this should cover it, and send it back.
But it's not who did what, it's what happened.
No, it's what happened, and I'm trying to explain now.
And I just want to confirm.
It has been done. Now that, as far as I can tell, the planning board is still operating under the rules of operation of 2007. If they wish to make a change, they just need to check off 2 things. They can't, that are covered in the founding ordinance for the planning board. And one is review of the comprehensive plan, and the other is the quorum. I think that they may want to at some time petition the right to change the quorum to an odd number. Now, if they choose to have a quorum of 5, that's fine. They should, because there are actually 7 participants.
Yeah.
But because if you don't have an odd, if you have 4 people and you vote 2 and 2, it fails. It's a negative.
Right.
And that doesn't help anybody in town.
Right.
And that was the reason we went for the 3. Because we'd always get 5.
Steve?
Yeah, I heard a mention of the bylaws. Can you come and tell me where in the bylaws it says the planning board has authority over the comprehensive plan committee?
It's not in the bylaws, sir. It is in the founding ordinance which created the planning
Yep.
board. And it says it's one of the things it has to consider when it's looking at things is the comprehensive plan. And it's a very poorly worded line, but it's in there so that if we're deciding to put a 6-story building in the center of town, we have to look at the comprehensive plan and say, maybe that's not what they intended. One of the things about the new comprehensive plan is that it's a lot more clear. And it is not running on 20-year-old statistics. And it's running on, the world changes in 20 years. I'll have some phones.
So if I might, there was a letter from the MMA about who has the authority to start a comprehensive plan committee.
Yep.
And their response was, the law does not require a comprehensive planning committee to oversee the process of drafting a new or revised comprehensive plan. The applicable statute 30-A MRS subset 4324 allows the municipal to designate and establish this committee. The law gives no specifics about the size of the committee or each member's term of office. Previously, the law required the planning board to act as the comprehensive planning committee. The current statute allows, but does not require, the municipal officers to designate the planning board as the comprehensive planning committee.
But you do understand that that is state, and town has passed, the town has passed a stricter ordinance than that. That's what the town one says, is it has to go through the planning board. So that's where the confusion is. Right.
But
We've had 2 or 3 members of the planning board on.
yes, I know. But when it was initially formed, there were a group of people who came to the planning board. And we sent them to meet the selectmen to authorize the formation of a comprehensive plans committee. And the condition, of course, was as in the ordinance that a member of the planning board always be present or advised of what was going on. And when they first formed it, the people that I know who were on the forming committee in 2018 were Lisa Thompson, Jane Anderson, Rebecca Fuller, Kurt Ward, and can't remember her first name, Ms. Gillespie. They were the ones who came to the meetings. And I was the rep from the planning board that went sit them on it and go through it. And it was a very dedicated crew, because I think almost every one of those names is still on it, and it's expanded. If you go to state statutes, which will overrule at some point the town on the planning board, they encourage a formation of a citizens committee, which involves the community into the planning of the comprehensive plan. Because comprehensive plan is just exactly that, even though you vote on it, it's not an ordinance. It's I'm sitting here in 2023, hoping that 2033 is gonna look like this. When it first
That
did
ain't happening.
no, it isn't, but it's going to look, and then these are the projections I would like to, we anticipate in the town. Or we hope for the town to do. When you first look at the original comprehensive plan, they were coming up one of the highest growth rates in this town, its history for the past 100 years. And they had a hard time enacting anything because they voted it on the cusp of it, and the bottom fell out 2 years later. So none of the things that they had plotted or planned or asked for. The only thing the state says that a town has to have a comprehensive plan for is zoning, districting, whatever you want to call it. Then it has to have a comprehensive plan to plot how the future is going to mesh with the zoning ordinance. And that is a legal ordinance, and that is enacted by the town. Any other questions?
There was two things that
I said nobody else was gonna be able to talk.
wait a minute, you guys talk.
I didn't talk during this. She didn't talk during this. Chair, Steve.
Actually, well, we asked her to be here.
Well,
All right, I'm gonna ask you guys, we'll make this, you want Bruce to have to make a comment at this time or not?
May I just, feel like I'm in an attorney box, may I approach the bench? Here's some, literature that you may find interesting. If you look to the second to the last page. This was brought to the attorney of Bergen and Parkinson on, answered by Bergen and Parkinson rather on August 15th of 2017. And the bottom of the second to the last page, if you read that question, it's referencing the comprehensive plan. What role and authorities, and actually, I think that you can find this whole packet really good sense, so I think that it would be in everybody's best interest if everybody read this. Where it says, what role and authority, if any, do selectmen have in this procedure? And if you can read the answer. As indicated above, the Board of Selectmen, and this is in regards to comprehensive plan. As indicated above, the Board of Selectmen has the authority to appoint either an ad hoc committee or to ask the planning board to come up with ordinances involving land use. Selectmen have the authority to decide whether to place proposed draft, either or without amendments, on the town meeting warrant for vote and to hold public hearing on the proposed ordinance. So it can be an ad hoc committee. But this packet is quite informative, so it answers a lot of questions that I believe that on the question of the board on the packet that I received answered a lot of these questions.
Are those packets available?
Yeah, it's public record, so I can't imagine that all of us. I believe that when you want this level, you have. Okay.
What's that?
Hers is blank on the back.
Where you bring?
That. Right. Are you missing this page? There you go, you can have that one. But it actually is a lot of good information. I read it during our workshop, last couple weeks ago, was that last week before mine. But I think it would answer a lot of questions that you have, so I think that you should all take a look at it.
Rematch here, so it seems to me that the proper procedures about, the planning board that was talked about was that we have planning board members, former planning board members on this committee. it sounds like it was talked about in the planning board and then we referred to the selectmen. Who gave the authority to form an ad hoc or comprehensive plan committee. So I kind of have a hard time seeing where we were wrong here, in process.
So is the.
In the process, in the process, the town people voted for the whole thing at the beginning. So the state might change their rule, but the town hasn't changed theirs. So there's where your problem lies. And that's all we want to do is get it cleared up. It's not pointing fingers at anybody.
Tell me the synopsis here, I mean, guys, I just don't get it.
There's no problem with a committee being formed. The committee is supposed to go through the chair of the planning board.
Well, didn't we do that with the prior chair?
Back years ago. Lately, there hasn't been that anybody on from the planning board, what I understood.
Excuse me, what?
Well, was there times that there wasn't?
No,
You sure?
yeah,
The informational meeting that I was over in the building over there. The chair of the planning board is in the audience pointing at her watch for people running over 2 minutes when she was the one that's supposed to be in at the podium. Everything was supposed to go through the chair of the planning board.
Easy. Hold on.
I don't appreciate, if I was
I
wrong,
apologize, I shouldn't have said it.
very much appreciate your apology, because if I did that. I would tell you, yeah, I'm a rule taker and I time for
Okay.
2 minutes, I'm not, that's a little
All
ridiculous.
right, Steve,
we've always had at least 2 people in the planning board on the comprehensive plan committee all the time.
okay,
Some, not long ago, there were 3.
I guess I just don't understand the objective.
Mhm.
I just don't understand what the whole point is. I don't understand why there is pointing fingers. Is the objective of the selectmen because they don't like the comprehensive plan and they don't want it to go through?
It's-
Or
No.
is it, what are we trying to prove? What's the end game? 'Cause I don't
It doesn't
understand.
care, I don't care, it doesn't matter what I think of the plan. It doesn't matter, I'm just telling people how to vote. But I want the people, the townspeople to have the facts. I asked a question. I make a motion that we
I just
bring
don't
the
understand it. I
bring the documents to Bernstein Shore
the
to
town.
review.
Because he doesn't understand it.
I think we need to stop. I think we need to discuss this
This is
ourselves.
getting heated.
Yeah, we need to go through this again in ourselves and discuss this and understand
It's
this.
just clarification, that's all I want, and you people should be backing that up also.
There's one plan.
I think most of them understand.
Let's table it and we're gonna discuss it. Amongst us. Okay,
Can I just,
one quick one, quick one.
the first one is, does anybody have a copy with them right here? Of the ordinance that created the planning board, because some of that will be answered in the document itself. Is on, like, on that second to the last paragraph of the first page. That, and number 2, because I do talk to what's his name. Okay, I know it's a shock. And he is still on the plan. So I am very interested in the comprehensive plan. I asked him, and from my understanding of what he may have mumbled at me, was that when it was finished, the comprehensive plan brought a copy to the planning board for review. And that review was sent to the state just to find out if it needed any tweaking. And it was returned to the planning board saying one of the best they'd read. So if you do nothing else when you go home tonight, thank your lucky stars that you had a really bright and diligent group of citizens in this town developing comprehensive plan. Not a law, a plan.
Larry, we should speak or not, it's up to you guys.
Yeah.
You say, that's it? Yeah. All right.
I had 2 talking points, but I have 3 now. The first one is getting back to the quorum of 3. There were public hearings with a quorum of 3. And that went all the way back to 2015. And I did not record every time they went in for a quorum of 3, but there was public hearings held with a quorum of 3. So as far as affecting the legality of what was passed, I'm strongly questioning whether it's legal on their operation. And as far as the comprehensive plan, the comprehensive plan I had to establish because people in the planning board were denying it even existed or was a legal document. I had to document that it was a legal document. And that person is sitting right across from me that was a naysayer that I had to prove to her that it did exist. And thirdly, when it comes to the planning board, it being in violation, it's not they're in violation of their bylaws, they're in violation of the planning board ordinance that was passed June 6, 1992. And I have a copy of that, if you would like it. I believe I've submitted a copy to you.
I think we have copies, yeah.
We have all, and that's what we want to, just to clarify, just to clear up, to make sure we have no problems up to now and.
And to make sure things are fixed.
Yeah.
That's all, it's just make it fixed and make sure it's right and.
What needs fixing?
It sounds to me like everything was already fixed, so.
Hopefully it was. There are 2 different stories between the whole thing, so we want to get it figured out. So
It's documented.
we're not the lawyers, we don't know,
Right.
you know,
What's documented?
some parts of it. That's why I said, we're gonna discuss it, we'll go over it, we'll go from there. So I'll take anything else, Joanne?
Hello.
Well, we're on ourselves, we're done with this, we're going to discuss it ourselves.
Yeah.
It's gotta end eventually. We listened to this, they have some very valid points, I'm glad Cindy was here, so we can understand that.
Our biggest valid point is that we all don't understand, prior, the current, and myself, don't understand what the issue is. And to go to the most expensive lawyer in the state of Maine to ask a stupid question in our opinion.
No question is stupid,
Well,
All right,
unnecessary.
it's done, we're done,
Yeah.
we're done. Done. Have anything else, Rick?
Yeah, I'm gonna request executive personnel.
Yep.
Right?
Are we allowed to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Personnel.
Can I ask a question about 2 or 3?
We're done with it. We're done with it.
With what?
We're going to executive session.
We haven't heard my question yet.
Wait,
Yes or no?
what do you got, Bill? I don't want to start more trouble.
Oh, this is guaranteed to start trouble. First, is there still a committee in town available to the town employees meeting periodically entitled to safety?
Right now, it's on hold. You know it's on hold because Dickie's sick. We told you with it before. Yes, you were here a month and a half ago, that same question, and we told you as soon as he gets straightened away with his stuff, we would start back up again.
Well, sir, I never heard anything about the,
Okay,
that's, and it's getting a little old, you jumping at people.
Well,
when
that's-
you don't know what you're talking.
that's what, why don't you ask him? Why don't you ask him? He's right there.
Second, at the transfer station, are we doing any recycling yet?
Don't believe so until probably, the week after next.
Do the people in town know that when they put their recycling in, it's not being recycled, it's going to the dump?
No, we don't know that.
Okay, so next year, when it gets cold, we're gonna do this again, or is there a plan afoot to fix this?
There is no plan to fix it because if you spray diesel fuel into it, they kick it back. And then so you're paying twice.
Who said that has to be the plan? There's gotta be a way. There ought to
So
be
far.
in the pocket.
Eco Maine has no way to figure it out.
Why is there diesel fuel in the recycling?
No, what's happening is when it gets cold, it freezes in the container. We send it to Eco Maine. They refuse it because it won't come out. They have no way of pulling it out. So then we have to pay the trucking again to take it to Mount Calvary. And they have an excavator up there, they pull it out. So we're paying twice. That's what we're doing. That's what we are doing now. Until the weather warms up, then we can start recycling again.
Third thing, the trash hauler, the only trash hauler in town that's allowed to dump at the transfer station. Is he still dumping it on the ground?
Yes,
So the town is subsidizing that guy's business.
no,
He dumps 2 or 3 tons of trash in the middle of the transfer station and then drives away. So the transfer station employees pick up the trash for a couple hours or an hour, however long it takes them to put in the bin, as well as using the town's backhoe to do it with. He ought to be paying their hourly wage.
He is, he's paying 150 every
Yeah.
time he dumps.
I asked Richard, okay,
He dumps,
Bill,
gets that,
Bill.
plus
I asked Richard if this, and this is the plan they came up with to do this. Richard came up with this plan to do this. He said it takes him a little over 5 minutes, 5-6 minutes to be able to pick it up and put it in the dumpster. It makes it easier on him. So this is what they brought up to us.
Yes. Richard and Joe both said that's the deal they came up with that hauler to take care of business. Yeah.
That's a pretty cheap dumping fee, $150 for a whole load of trash.
It's our trash. It's the taxpayer's trash. He is only the, yep,
And they gotta pay him also to haul it.
well, some people don't have time to take it.
I'm paying for this service.
I'm paying for a service. You can pay for the service. You can call him right up and get your trash picked up from him. All right.
Executive session.
Okay.
No,
Let's wait a minute. What's, you were supposed to be on the agenda?
no,
No, they've got a letter. It's in the folder, but you didn't have.
Oh, it's on the
agenda.
It's okay. It's a simple one, too.
we could,
It's a happy.
we're gonna go in executive session. We're gonna go in executive session.
Is it okay? We don't want to only take a minute, so is there something quiet?
It's about the file food drawer filing cabinet for the budget committee for the amendments.
Because the Freedom of Access Act requires us to have records available for anybody that
Where are we gonna put it?
to accept access.
Where are we gonna put it?
We'll take it under advisement.
Yeah, Yeah.
So you don't have to cover it tonight. I mean,
yep,
we'll schedule it, probably.
okay. We're gonna go into executive session. Oh, we have, we're all in favor of going to executive session?
Yeah.
Dicky gone.
Dicky. Stay.
You do executive session.
Need you here.
I'll be in his office.
Yep.
Planning board is me.
What's that? Oh, yeah. All I did was.
Can you shut that off?
Hey, now a good time for public works.